Oh, good morning again. How are you? I had a beautiful weekend, as I said, away from my kids, so I'm refreshed and lovely. And and Bill got to go golfing, and my son babysat. So there you go. See, dreams do come true. Oh, my goodness. So it's so grateful to be here. The title of our talk today is the 3 C's: clarity, consensus, and commitment. And this becomes very important, not only as a community as we're rebuilding, but it also becomes important in our lives and the commitments we make to ourselves and how we follow through or the lack thereof. And then somehow judgment comes, and, you know, responsibility and commitment and integrity is all that we really have to live the life that we desire. They are key parts. So I have a little story about a traveler. So one day a traveler comes upon 3 bricklayers. And he asks the first bricklayer, "What are you doing?" And the first bricklayer says, "I am laying bricks, just simply laying bricks." And he says to the second bricklayer, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm building a wall." Finally, he asks the third bricklayer, and the man looks up bright-eyed. He says, "I'm building a cathedral." The same task, 3 perspectives, and the difference is the vision between the first and the second. So when we are building things in our lives, the vision of what the final outcome should always be held in our heart. And we see in community that we have collectively different ideas, and so that's where clarity becomes important. And in clarity, let's talk about what clarity is first and foremost. So the definition of clarity is a shared vision where everyone understands the purpose, direction, and the why behind what we do. So in our lives, in relationship, and in community, in job, and work, there has to be clarity to achieve a goal. Clarity always is the most important first step. And why does it matter? Well, with clarity, without clarity, energy is scattered. People don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to do it. They don't know what's expected of them. And so one of the things that I have seen within our community is, from the top down, I take responsibility as we're trying to move through difficult circumstances and grow and change. Sometimes I don't even have the clarity of what's next. Sometimes I'm waiting on Spirit to share it, and I don't personally know what's next until something comes up. And so one of the things that I've committed to myself is to try to be more clear and to share more clarity and to be more forthright about your community and how we would like for you to move in it. And I invite you to look at this within your life as well. If things aren't going so well, there is usually, first and foremost, a lack of clarity, a lack of understanding. There is probably, usually when there are issues that involves 2 people, very rarely have I seen an issue involve 1 person. Right? So usually there's a lack of agreements or clarity on what the final outcome is supposed to be. Right? And so as we gain clarity, then we can then set the standard for what we want to do moving forward with boundaries and guidelines. So clear vision makes every role sacred work when you become committed to it. Ernest Holmes says this, this age-old quote, "Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it." So earlier in the talk, I said the quality of your thinking changes the quality of your life. I'm pointing sorry about that. But the quality of our thinking, so our quote is, "Change your thinking, change your life." And that quote often ponders me because I often find it very impossible to change my thinking. The nature of the mind is to think and to fill in gaps and to make assumptions. And if it has certain pieces of information, its job is going to connect those dots. I kind of look at it as when you're watching the mystery show and they have suspects and then they draw the red yarn to connect them all. That's what the mind does about any given problem. And it is our job not to just believe the mind and what it fills in, but to gain clarity with facts to fill in the facts, to build the whole story, to make a decision towards your goal of what you want to do or won't to do or are willing to do. And it creates a sense of fairness and responsibility. So where in your life or in our community are you or us or we only laying bricks instead of seeing the big cathedral? The outcome. Do you know the outcome or the mission or the vision of what our overall, as a community, what we hope to achieve as a community? And I think, wow, we could do a great job, or maybe even a better job, of sharing and resharing and sharing again what our mission, vision, and values are, so it is always at the forefront. When I worked at USAA, every meeting started with the mission, the vision, and the values. You couldn't have a meeting where that wasn't up on the PowerPoint and somebody read it. And it became so soon that we didn't even have to read it anymore, that we knew what the company expected us, so they were so clear with the integral parts of the mission, vision, and values. And I try to take that into my life now in my communication. I usually will start now with, just to be clear, just so we have no disagreements. What was it that we were trying to achieve with this, whatever we decided we wanted to do, right? Even if it's going on vacation, knowing why you want to go on vacation, what you want to do there. I don't know, for me it might be rest, relaxation, and staying in bed and scrolling on my phone, and for my husband it might be going to the beach and going swimming. And there we would have a conflict, right? Because two people want to do different things, and they haven't bridged that with an agreement. Maybe a little bit in bed, scrolling, and a little bit at the beach. And, depending on, whether you get your margarita or not. Or people watch. I love to people watch. And so number 2 is consensus. Consensus aligns hearts and minds. Consensus isn't that we all have to agree. A consensus is a collective agreement, not just compliance, but genuine ownership over the vision. So this, going back to our vision building, this is why we had the meeting and we had everybody put everything on the paper, and we collectively looked at your words and cajoled them to try to create a vision that meant not only something to the leadership, but to the community, and then rolled it out. And if it's not sticking, then maybe we need to do that again. Maybe we haven't given it a fair enough shot. Maybe there was not enough people there. There could be a lot of reasons why that's not happening. And believe me, I'm not saying that it's not happening, because it takes time for our vision to become collectively our agreement. Now, when they hired a minister, they created a beautiful manifestation that was read pretty much every Sunday to call in, the minister, that they, with all the different pieces. And I think as a community, it's time to update that for our collective vision of what we're wanting to call Spirit into. What is important to you? Is it, having a full house? Is it financially secure? Is it having more classes, volunteerism? And all of those things build a big community. And when you're rebuilding or reshuffling or, reorganizing, sometimes we have to take one piece at a time, because it's hard to address all of those issues if you don't have a committee head for each one. So for me, what became clear is one day at a time, one step at a time, one integral piece at a time. And what will happen is the energy will build, and then the rest will come. Spirit will come and fill in those connectors that we need, because we're working towards an overall vision, and collectively, where two or more are holding that vision, it must become manifest. What happens is when there's a sense of clarity or lack of understanding that, or a lack of consensus that is not feeding into the overall whole, and we're still maybe confused, then it becomes our responsibility to ask. It becomes our responsibility to say, well, how can I help? What can I do? What do you need? Or, when I was at USA, and I'm an ideation person, I'd have all these great ideas, and my boss would be, well, great, how are you going to do that? Because I would give her the idea like she was supposed to go do something, and she would gratefully give it back to me. And with boundaries, right? Because it had to meet the values and principles of the organization. It had to meet policies and procedures. It had to be fair and equitable. It had to be inclusive. And so, Ideas are great, and I am looking for ideation, and I'm also looking for you to fulfill that within the guidelines and boundaries of our community. And so how do we do that at home? It's the same process, right? Consensus in a marriage. I mean, I've been married for 40 years, and I wouldn't say that clarity, consensus, and commitment have really been things that we've focused on, but I can look back and see how much more freedom and respect we would have had between one another had we known or deployed these qualities. And how do we learn these things? Well, when we start to become aware, and awareness usually starts with a problem, right? Because when things don't feel good, that's when we start to look. I don't know too many people that look at their lives when everything's going well and feels really good. It's kind of when everything starts to fall apart and we don't agree or we don't like that we start investigating or inquiring. And then we go to the skilled people that have certain skills, a marriage counselor or a financial advisor or somebody that has spent their life developing the skill to help you with the issue or concern that you have. And I don't know about you, but in my younger days, anybody mentioned the word goals, I went running. Because I didn't know how to deploy them. I knew what I wanted, but my mind didn't connect step A, step B. I just wanted to get to the end, and it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. The world is built on organization, the mind is built on chaos. Right? Spirit is organized and always knows. And so we then have to see where our thinking or our faith is placed, because wherever and whatever we believe is what we get in our life. And you don't get necessarily always what you believe, but you get who you are, which is built off of what you believe. So consensus matters because it builds trust, unity, resilience. It's a shared decision. It creates harmony in the discomfort of feeling like, why doesn't anybody listen to me, right? In the midst of change. And I know I personally have a problem with consensus because I think my way should always be the way. It's not true, but Tracey likes to believe that. And so we were talking about consensus in a conversation with another minister that I go to seek guidance from, and I said, but that means if I really don't agree that I'm not going to get that. And she's like, you're right. But there will be a time where you will get it. And Spirit always delivers the thing that's needed, not what Tracey wants, not what anybody else wants. So as a collective, we get to make a decision on how to move forward. So when a prayer removes distrust and let me read that again. When prayer removes distrust and doubt and enters into the field of mental certainty, it becomes faith. And the universe is built on faith, Ernest Holmes says. So we have to check our faith, right? So we have clarity, we have consensus, which is built on faith. And so I'm here to ask you today, and I'm asking myself this question: where do we need to listen or speak so alignment, not just agreement, can form? Where do we need to become into an alignment as a community or in your family or your job? I often really hesitated going to talk to my boss because I didn't want to be considered a troublemaker. I didn't really feel like she really cared about my personal opinion, and maybe she did or maybe she didn't, but it is your right and my right to say so as long as we're doing it in a respectful manner and we know that we might not get what we want in the long run. And that has to become okay in a collective community, because there will be a time where you will get what you want. Because if an idea has come to you, it is given to you through Spirit, and it's not that maybe it's not the good idea, maybe it's just not the time. Maybe Spirit has given you this idea for a different part of your life, or maybe you need a little bit more clarity before it's deployed. Because I know I could get a really good idea and I want to share it right away, but it's not fully formed, it's not all the way there, the parties aren't there to fulfill it, and so creatively it's not complete. So like maybe Jackson might get an idea for a song and he has maybe 3 verses. I don't know all the words when you're creating a song, but maybe he doesn't have the note yet, or maybe he doesn't have the riff or the hook. And so he's trying to go out and put a record out with a half-done song. It probably wouldn't really work very well, would it? But if he is patient and knows that if that was given, everything else will be given, then the song will be formed. And so that middle ground is what we call faith. And it's easy to lose it or not have it, especially when things aren't going as quickly as the mind wants them to. So what we need to think about is how do we see the cathedral? How do we align our hearts and minds to the consensus of the family, the group, the job, the team, whatever it is that we're doing? And how do we move into commitment, living as though the cathedral already stands? I was having this talk with a group of friends, and we were talking about sufficiency, and that the sufficiency of the universe is always on time. But if your time and attention or the quality of your thinking is on the lack of sufficiency, you will see more of that in the areas of your life than you sufficiency. And you know, the story goes, there was a gentleman who was complaining that he didn't have enough, and you know, God basically selected out his house, his job, his finance, his savings, his, you know, and the little things that we take for granted every day because we work for them are our sufficiency, and it's exactly what we need. And the troublesome part comes in is because I do know there are people experiencing the opposite of these things, but that's why we are here as a group, a collective, a center, so that we can become magnetic in nature, and people can see the great life that you created through your quality of thinking, and you become a magnet, and you attract them, and then you don't need to fix them. You could just say, here, show up here on Sunday, and you too can have that. If you want clarity around your life, we can help you find it. If you want to enter in consensus with your own mind, we can help you do that. And if you want to build the cathedral, we can show you some ways and give you some tools on how. So commitment is dedicated follow-through, acting in service of the vision even when it's tough. I don't know, I was raised, this is getting hard, I don't think I want to do it anymore. Bee-hoo, you know, and when things get hard here or they get hard at home, you know, I was taught, oh, it's so difficult, you know, maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing, and that's not really the truth. That's not reality. Reality is that things are tough, and my beautiful Reverend Cheryl said, if you're learning to play the piano and you go take lessons and you play a few keys, you're not going to know how to play Mozart. It's going to be tough to learn finger placement, and if you're older, how to move your fingers and what a note is and how to read music. But if you have a desire, the outpicturing of the end, then you will make it through the difficult times. But when it gets difficult, if you give up and you leave, then you'll never achieve the cathedral. You'll just go somewhere else looking for it, and then you'll give up there. It's like having a book for every idea that you have, and I have a lot of books and a lot of teachers, and I realized, you know, you only need one. The quality of your thinking results in the quality of your life, and Spirit will bring you exactly who and what you need to fulfill that, and you have to have clarity. So when you read something, you will have clarity that, oh, this was given to me. It resonates with me in some way. I love it. And then you have to investigate it. You have to look up what the words mean. You have to have a deeper understanding. And then the true meaning comes. And then you collectively within yourself have consensus. And then the goal starts to make sense. And it's all driven by the desire that was placed in your heart, because you deserve to have a desire. You deserve to have collectively what is important to you. And we here at the center, you know, we say, if you're looking at a fast car and a red car and you love that car, there's more underneath the desire of wanting that to go fast, to be free. You know, a mental equivalent is what we call it, that you have a mental equivalent to the thing that you desire. And I'm here to tell you the truth. You're not going to get it unless you do the work, read the book, find the skilled person, or have faith that the way will be shown and follow through. I mean, I was not a great follow-through person, but I've learned that follow-through, it is tough. But on the other side of that, it's like if you've never been hiking and you get halfway and they're like, you can sit on the rock, we'll come back to get you, which I've been there. And you're like, no, I'm making it to the top. And you get up there and you're like, you feel like you're going to die. And then you turn around and you see the view. And you like, I made it up here. It was hard. I'm tired. I can't breathe, but it showed me I can do it. It'll get easier every time I apply, every time I get clear, every time something happens. The beautiful, wonderful thing comes together and congeals. So I don't know about you, but when I take a hike, which it's been a while, but it's on my goal list, is to always see the view when I get to the top. It's always to look at the magnificent sufficiency of the universe and all that it's provided in this beautiful planet. This is the most beautiful planet. This is the most beautiful time in our history, even though it doesn't seem like it by what we see and what's going on. It just means change is coming. It means collectively things are changing, and not always do we like the way the universe sets that up. We have opinions about it. I have opinions about it. But the reality is, it was pointed out to me many thousands of years ago. I'm not a historian, but when you disagreed with somebody, they cut your head off and stuck it on a stake, and then you walked by and reminded you every day, oh, I can't speak out because my head will be on a stake. We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that anymore. So collectively, we have to look at the past. We have to think about our education. We have to educate our children appropriately. We have to teach them goal setting. I'm making it so simplistic, and I know there are a lot of moving parts in between, but God is simplicity. And our mind, connecting those pictures with that red yarn, make it difficult. It is not as difficult as we make it to our minds to be, but clarity brings calmness. Calmness brings equanimity. Equanimity brings peace within, no matter what is going on in the world. And those are the tools that we are here to encourage you to take into your life so we can build our community exactly the way we want it, exactly the way Spirit inspires us. And I encourage you to take it into your life, into your family, into your job, and to just keep investigating until the happiness that you desire becomes clear to you to take action on. That's what I'm inviting you. I will say this, revisiting the 3 bricklayers. Clarity gives us the vision, consensus aligns our hearts, and commitment builds the cathedral, brick by brick. Will you be a bricklayer in your life, in your community? Will you be a bricklayer that builds the wall, that has the vision of the cathedral, that knows when it gets tough, there's a way forward, and that it really just relies on all of us to communicate within our lives, our community, our family, our country. We need to learn to be better communicators. So say this affirmation with me, and we will close. We see clearly, align in love, and commit fully. Together we are building a cathedral of consciousness, love, and service. And so it is. Namaste. Woo! Prayer. Do you mind giving me some little melody? I like to pray to music. So beautiful. All right, I just know right here, right now, there is only one spirit, one mind, one collective, beautiful beingness flowing through each and every one of us. That it is you and you are it. And that as we give up the things that keep us from that, as we reconcile and we transform the quality of our thinking, we see the quality of our life follow suit. That there isn't really anything that we need to do. Everything is changed in here, and the steps become even more beautiful that we take. That we put our faith in the sufficiency of the universe, in the gratitude for the things that we have, for the outpouring and outpicturing of the things that lift our spirits, that bring us into the higher vibrations of life and love. That I know that this is true for you, it's true for me, and for anybody listening that's going through difficulty, for anybody that is challenged in their life right now, that it is merely sometimes taking a step back, revisiting, relooking, and acknowledging the beauty of life, the gratitude of circumstances, that even when we think we have nothing, we have our breath. We have an opportunity to change the quality of our thinking. As long as we are breathing, change is possible. This is the gift of Spirit to us. It is what we focus on. It's what brings us clarity, consensus, and the commitment is ours. We willingly give ourselves to love in the witness of Spirit through each and every divine being that we meet. We become the model of beautiful magnetic energy. I release these words into the law, knowing that they land perfectly on the hearts of all who are listening and all who you share it with. And that surely from this point forward, our sufficiency is granted. And I am so deeply grateful for Spirit, for my life, for you. And I encourage you to take those words and to use them to grow, to flourish, and to see spiritually. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, life. As the winds take these words, we call it so. And say it with me. And so it is.